Okay, if I said you had to answer the phone like with your hand, how would you do it? Okay, that's crazy because a lot, like, that one surprises me because, like, the younger kids, like, do this now because they don't know, like, what this means. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, Haley, when was the last time you used a rotary phone?
If ever.
I can confidently say I've never used a rotary phone.
Oh my gosh.
Haley, tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do at Royal? What's your role here?
My name's Haley. I'm the social media marketing intern here at Royal Credit Union. So I'm pretty much in charge of social media, kind of scheduling, posting content, sometimes coming up with ideas, writing captions, pretty much all things social media. Yeah, I'm 21 years old, go to UW Stout.
Nice.
Yeah.
Me too.
Roll Blue Devs.
What's been your favorite part of the internship so far?
Probably just everything I've learned. I feel like I've learned so much, and it's been, I don't know, half a year. Still got a year to go. Can't imagine. Brain's gonna explode.
It's a plug for our internships, I think.
I won't speak for you two, but I'm getting older, so it's good to kind of bring in a younger person with a different perspective to get what their take is on the financial world and what's going on. What is your background with financial education? How did you learn about money?
I can say it's very limited. I think going into this internship, I was so nervous because I had no idea anything about finances. And the things I did know, I either learned from my dad or TikTok. So it was interesting to see how it all kind of works and learn a little more about it. I've definitely learned a lot in this internship, but there's definitely still a lot of things I'm like, wait, should I know that? How should I know that? Where should I learn that? So I'm definitely excited to be here talking about all that.
Has there been anything that really like has sparked your imagination and like, I wish I would have known that earlier?
I think honestly, just all the accounts. I did not know there were so many different accounts that you could put your money into. And I think just learning that beforehand and not letting my money just sit there could have been good to know, I guess a little earlier than now, but at least I know now.
What are your biggest concerns about your finances in the future and like right now?
Yeah, I would say right now, I think my biggest concern is just feeling behind. I think it's really easy for people to feel behind, especially with social media. And, you know, you're scrolling on TikTok and someone's like, I have $10,000 saved in my account, or I made this much money. It's like, well, should I have that much money? How do I get that money? Am I behind? And then you start going down this rabbit hole. But then on the flip side, you see people who have maybe $100 saved in their account. And you're like, well, I'm doing great then. But again, if you only have $200, are you doing great? So it's really hard to gauge how well you're doing because there's just so much out there to look at.
Do you find that to be true when you're talking to young people, that everybody's kind of...
Truly any age. And just, you know, I work with such a wide variety of ages and life statuses with the people I work with. But I think everyone always feels behind. Like, I know that I'm doing the right things and I still feel behind sometimes. And so, you know, we have the tips and tricks and the general rules. And if you follow that, as long as it's working for you, finances are super personal. So just because somebody has this amount doesn't mean you won't when you get that full-time job and things like that. So life can change quick.
Is that kind of a good goal of like, it's like everything, not comparing yourself to somebody else, but comparing to where you're at today and kind of taking those steps?
100%. When I teach this class, like any class or anything, and we talk about like, you know, experts will tell you should save 10% of your income or have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved. Amazing long-term goal, amazing short-term goal if you can do that. If you can truly save that $20 every paycheck or 10 and you're putting it away, amazing, right? Because we're building a habit and having something is going to be more impactful than having nothing. And when you're younger, you know, you don't have all of those expenses yet, right? Like when I started my internship at Royal, they were like, oh, you should get a quick cash. And I thought, okay, how much? And it was for $500 because that covered a month of rent, right? It's where now it blows my mind that I at one point paid only that much for rent, right? But when you're younger, you have different needs. And so you don't have to feel like you're behind, but set yourself up for where you're at, and then we can always grow with it.
Has your spending changed from high school to college? And what was that like?
Definitely. I think in high school, I probably spent $50 max, maybe. And that was on like Target or like clothes or something fun. But now here I am paying hundreds of dollars in rent, utilities, Wi-Fi, groceries, everything. I feel like I get my paycheck and then my paycheck is gone. So definitely that's been a big adjustment too. And I think also just like the little things I used to enjoy in high school, like those coffees every morning or going out to eat, like it's definitely changed going into college.
Mm-hmm.
If you could go back and tell young Haley something, what would you tell her?
Skip that Starbucks. Skip that Starbucks. Make it at home.
And what would you do with that money then?
Save it.
Yeah.
Put it somewhere.
So your expenses have changed as you've gotten older, but has your approach to money and budgeting changed? Like when you were in high school, did you have a budget, or is that something new that you started once you got to college?
It's definitely something new. I think in high school, I kept it all in my checking. I spent, what I didn't, just stayed there. But now I definitely am more conscious of where I'm putting my money, what I'm spending it on. I wouldn't say I really have I save this percent goes to savings and this percent goes here, just because I feel like as young adults, our weeks are definitely not the same. Maybe 1 week I'll go out to dinner with my friends, or me and my friends are doing this, and then the next week we're not. Or sometimes groceries will last me a month, and then sometimes they'll last me a week. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard, I think, to put a solid number behind it, especially now.
Going back to high school, did you, I'm going to be hard on your parents, did you guys have conversations about budgeting and saving? Did they tell you stuff that you're like, whatever, that now you're like, oh, I should have listened to them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My dad was really hard on us about that. Save your money, save it. Don't spend it on Starbucks every morning. Make your coffee at home. Sorry, what was the question?
It's just so interesting having teenagers myself. It's I find myself saying stuff that a lot of times people don't listen to. And I was like, I don't even know how do you think there's anything he could have said to you back then to be make you save more?
Honestly, at that age, no. I think, I don't know, it's just a learning lesson. And I think, I don't know, there is still a balance of you work hard for your money, so you should spend your money, but within reason, of course. And I think it's just getting to college or getting outside of high school at least and starting to have more expenses that you start to realize it on your own. And then that's when you're like, oh, I gotta lock in.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you get a lot of your financial education from TikTok and online creators. And I'm just trying to think, because when I was in high school, my parents didn't talk to me about money. Any sort of financial lesson that I learned, it was, I want to say just through school probably, but even that was pretty limited, mm-hmm. They don't talk about it as much as they should within the school system. And so when I got into college, it was very self-sufficient, but I didn't have the resources that young adults have these days. TikTok wasn't a thing when I was in college. And mm-hmm. It's just, you really had to go out and find those things on your own. And you mentioned earlier, there's accounts that you had never heard of before in financial terms and everything. And I think it's really beneficial that you can have those resources. And I want to just highlight some of the awesome content that Haley has been creating within her role here at Royal. I work very closely with her on social. Do you want to talk about the videos, the social media videos that you've been working on to help the young adult demographic learn about money and help them with their finances?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I turn to social media for a lot of what I learn. So I really wanted to kind of portray that information in a way that like young adults would understand and make sense. And if someone's just sitting down and talking to me like a YouTube video, I'm going to get so bored after a while if it's just static talking about finances. So I really appreciate that quick content, 15, 30 seconds. So that's really what I tried to focus on and put it in terms that, you know, us 18 to 25-year-olds do understand and do relate to. So go check it out. Like, comment.
Yes.
So kind of looking at the future, what financial goals feel like out of reach or too big to kind of take on right now?
I would say student loans. Honestly, are those ever going to get paid off? I hope so. They better. But that just seems so, I don't know, unachievable right now. And I know that I haven't even started paying them off. So it's fair that that does feel that way. But just seeing that grow each month and being just so overwhelmed with the amount I have to pay off and the amount of time it's going to take, like, what, I'll be like 30s, 40s, like, that's...
Oh, I'm 31 and mine are not paid off. So granted, I'm back in school, but I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you.
Yeah, that's definitely something that can feel really daunting and overwhelming sometimes.
I think that, so this is kind of a side plug for some of our financial education resources, but there are a lot of unknowns and changes happening right now with student loans. I know I've been confused on, you know, when do I have to sign up for something or change? So we have Enrich, which is our self-serve financial education platform, and they've just released a whole bunch on the current student loan changes and things to think about when you're getting student loans and paying them back. So if you have any questions, that's a great free resource you can go to.
Do you have any quick tips for Haley to ease her mind about student loans right now?
To ease her mind?
Like you're going to take on all of her debt for her right now? You're going to commit to that?
Cooper, that's so generous.
I don't know if you guys think are you getting, you know, kickback for this podcast? Because it's not really anything to like ease your mind. I think student loans are, in this day and age, part of going to college, right? My best advice that I would give is don't take them out for more than you need. You know, you sometimes get awarded a certain amount and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this much extra money, but you're going to have to pay for it, right? So I always think about, you know, all those late night pizzas that I got at Domino's downtown and how I'm still paying for them because, you know, I took out more than I needed. So don't take out more than you need. And that's not to say that you can't take them out for living expenses and things. That might be your reality. But be conscious of it. And if you have a budget and figure out, you know, what you can do. Utilize resources like Enrich. It has a scholarship search on there. So you can search nationwide, local scholarships. Check with your school. Stout has a whole bunch of scholarships that you can apply for. And utilize those. You know, there's a lot of money that sits out there that no one knows about or applies for, so it doesn't get used. So why not use that and have it cover some of those expenses? So those are my kind of quick tips. I always tell kids too, like, not kids or young adults, but if you ever feel like skipping class, if you calculate out what the per class cost is, sometimes that can be an eye-opener. I did that and I was like, $65 I was losing every single time I decided to sleep in or something. So just those little tips and tricks that be mindful.
I do like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been financial things that you wish you would have done differently since coming to college?
Definitely scholarships is a big one. I know it was, at the time, it felt like a lot of work to get something that I might not even qualify for or get. So that was definitely one I should have maybe put the time in and done that a little more.
Okay, so you talked about how you like to, you know, you kind of go to social media to really learn about things. So what do you as a young adult prefer? Do you like those digital tools? Do you want to walk into a branch and talk to someone? Have you changed and evolved and, you know, figured it out as you've been going? But I'm just curious what your perspective is on that.
Yeah, I would definitely say digital. If I have to call or go into an office, it's probably not going to happen. I like to have it right there. It's just way easier. I definitely probably should go into an office and ask these questions and just kind of learn more. So that definitely can be helpful, but it's just so hard right now when everything is right at your fingertips and you can just turn to a quick Google search.
Yep.
But who knows where that Google search is coming from,
Right.
who's writing that.
Hey, they pay me to teach people about money, so you can always just email me if you need to.
Oh my gosh.
Or Teams me.
Okay.
Whatever you need.
Every day.
Yeah, literally. I might not respond every day, but I usually will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself having conversations about money with your friends or like your close circle?
Sometimes. I think sometimes when we do talk about it, it's the feeling of overwhelmingness, like, especially as we only have one more year left of college. That's when it's like gonna get real. There's just a lot of conversations about how are we gonna do this? Do we have enough money? Should we? But then at the same time, I also feel like friends can kind of make you feel better about, oh, like if we go shopping,
Treat
like,
yourself.
yeah, like you worked so hard, you deserve that top. So it's definitely a balance when it comes to friendships and money.
It is. And I feel like that's a type of conversation you can't have with just any one of your friends because money, it's a super sensitive topic and you kind of open yourself up with sharing certain details or not sharing certain details. But I'm just kind of curious, like in that young adult landscape, like, do you kind of hear your friends having the same questions that you have? Are there ever instances where you're able to like help educate one another, especially with you now working for a credit union? Do you ever find yourself in those situations?
Yeah, I would say so. I feel like a lot of it is like one of my friends will tell me like, oh, my parents told me to do this in my bank account or move this. And they're like, I don't know what that means, but like, I'm just going to do it. And I was like, well, actually, a high yield savings account is. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of unknowns. And we kind of talk about that too. Like, are we doing okay with our money? What should we be doing more with it? But it's also hard to talk about because we don't really know where to start. Like, we don't really know what we should be talking about, if we're even talking about the right things. Like, are these even things we qualify for or things like that? But
that's a good point. I think that happens, even I'm at the older, end of young adult now, but because my friends know where I work and what I do, the amount of calls I get constantly, just because, they're running into a situation that they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, we have kids in a house, but we never had to deal with this. So what do I do? And it's always just interesting to, hear those things and be reminded of where we could educate more or provide resources for.
Cooper, I'm curious if you have any of these types of conversations, because of course this doesn't apply to all young adults, but I think a lot of young adults, when it comes to their finances, they're maybe hovering between like just trying to survive and make ends meet and then also wanting to like build a better financial path for themselves. So like how do you counsel people in that situation?
Yeah. It kind of depends exactly what we're looking at, right? Which is my answer to everything. It's not always helpful, but it kind of goes back to, okay, what are the priorities? What are we truly having to pay for? Do we have a savings account? Do we have, money in there yet? And it just goes back to save what you can, right? So let's put $10 aside. And if that's what's working right now, sweet. If we have, credit cards that we took out and used them a little bit too excitedly, okay, how much do we have? Let's figure out, can we pay a little bit more towards them and start to get those paid down? So just, it's prioritizing all of those things too. And you might not get the brand new car, but we can get one that works and is reliable and you're not going to have a negative equity on and things like that. So it's, it's just really situational. And I think that's where it's where there's so much knowledge out there, but it's hard to pick through that knowledge, right? And so, whether it truly be like sending Royal Credit Union a message and saying, hey, can someone give me a resource online for how to make a budget? You can do that, or making an appointment to go sit down and say, I'm new, I don't know how to do this. Most of our branch team really loves to have those young adults and help them be set up for success. So, but yeah, that's where just, figuring out your goals. What do you have to pay for? If you're graduating and now have to pay student loans, you're not going to have a lot of extra. That's the reality of it. but evaluating those benefits for your first job and things like that are important. Knowing that you should put money in your 401k if your employer has a match. And if that's all you do, sweet, that's all you do for right now. So
yeah, that's definitely something that I wish I would have made a better effort in when I was in college, was just going out and trying to get that personal help, because we kind of talked about it earlier about like comparing yourself. And I mean, when I was in college, being in the School of Business, you're around a lot of peers who are like very money conscious, and like they're already investing in stocks and saving for retirement. And then here I was just trying to figure out how I was going to make my rent payment, or, eat something a little better than ramen noodles for that week. And like, it can be so easy to just compare yourself at that age. And that can also be where it's tricky now when there is so much information out there. It's like, what should I even focus on here?
I think a lot of colleges these days are starting to offer financial wellness and financial well-being resources. I know that Stout has a program now where you can go and get some of those questions answered. They have places that they can point you to. UW Eau Claire does too. So I would encourage you, reach out to Student Life, look on the website and search for it. But there's a lot of resources being offered from those higher education institutions. When it comes to student loans too, your financial aid office, truly your best friend. Like, they know, I can't even tell you the amount of stuff that they know and how they can help you and guide you to payments and what to do. And, it's their job to figure all of that out and have to kind of know how to guide you. So I know my financial aid office at Stout was amazing. Like, I would go sit in there and be like, okay, what do I do? How do I fill out FAFSA? What address do I use and things like that.
Yeah, that's definitely good to know. And I think it's important to also remember that, it's not something to be embarrassed about, or something to be like, oh, well, I didn't handle my money well enough, so now I have to go ask somebody.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think just kind of removing that stigma around it, I think, is important too. And I do feel like we are on the way to that, especially with social media.
Yes.
And just kind of being more open and talking about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree. No one's born with a set of financial knowledge, right? Like, every single one of us has had to learn and figure it out. And different things work for different people, Truly, they do.
Any terms or concepts that are still kind of confusing to you that we could clear up, or that Cooper can clear up? Or Alexis.
Yeah, I know a little bit.
Yeah,
Steve.
And I was like, Alexis knows stuff. She did this.
I'm the dead weight on this one.
kind of just back to what you were saying, and just putting away that $10, $20 a paycheck. Is that just something that should be sitting in your savings? Is that something that should go into a specific account? I think that's where I really struggle, is knowing what to do with it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. My advice would be Royal has a high yield savings account now. We have a save and spend duo, which has a lower limit. But with that money you're setting aside just for emergencies and the just in case, you want it somewhere where you can access it, right? So you want that liquid account. You're not going to make millions in interest, right? But it's there, you're making a little bit, and the purpose is that you can use it when you need it, right? For me, I have it at a different financial, but I can still transfer the money, do a withdrawal at the ATM, whatever it may be, to be able to access that. So I do that because I'm not a good saver. So out of sight, out of mind, right? But that's what you do with that emergency fund. The rest, future thinking, you're not going to be able to access that money usually. So, some of it you could do in a certificate, which you can do for a shorter period of time. It's not going to be the same as investing in the stock market, right? But you're going to earn a little bit more. It's going to keep it there. So you can utilize things like that. We have super low, we don't even have a minimum amount that you need to get a certificate here. So, if you have that spring break trip coming up, you have $500, put it in there so you don't spend it, right? But yeah, everything else, the 401ks and things that you get, or IRAs, those are all going to be money you don't want to touch, just because there's different tax, implications when you take those out. But yeah.
Which made me think, is there any other questions that we're asking you a lot of questions, but is there any other questions that you have that maybe kind of put a voice to young adult concerns?
Or things you want them to like just know, you know?
I guess like what is your just kind of like number one piece of advice? I guess this can kind of go to all of you. Your number one piece of advice just for like somebody who is kind of in that transition between college to adulthood or even high school to college. I think that's a huge transition as well.
Yeah. You know, I think mine it goes for general and then like retirement too. But they always say, you know, the best time to start saving was yesterday, but the next best time is today. So, you know, don't let yourself make the mistakes and mess up, and don't be hard on yourself if you went for Starbucks instead of putting that extra $5 in savings. Like, it's okay. The important thing is you recognize it and you can always do better. So I think a lot of people get really, you know, caught up in that. And especially being in college, like, man, it is the last point before you really have to have all those super adult responsibilities. So have the fun. You know, if it's going on spring break and you can afford it, go on spring break, right? Like, you know, make those choices and make sure that you are enjoying your experiences in life too.
Yeah, I think my piece of advice would be just know where your money is going. Something that I got in a really bad habit of in college is like, as long as I had the money in my account, I would use it. So like, let's say my friends and I, we were going out somewhere and we were going to get food on the way or something. I was just like, oh yeah, let me check my account balance. Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm going to spend that money on lunch. And I would just do that. But like, I never took the time to like look at my transaction history and be like, okay, exactly how much have I been spending on food? Exactly how much have I been spending at Target on things that I don't need? It was just like, if it's there, I'm good. So it did take me a couple of like learning lessons to realize like, okay, just because the money's there, that doesn't mean that I'm okay to spend it. I like had to train myself to be forward thinking a little bit more like, okay, and maybe this is just me being not a smart college student by any means, but I was like, not really thinking about like, okay, so I have my car insurance that's coming due in a couple of weeks. I have like rent that's coming due. I have my phone bill that's coming due, and just like not thinking about those things in advance, just like truly just like living in the moment, which of course can be a good thing. But when it comes to money, like sometimes that's just not good enough. And so I like had to just train myself to like, okay, where is my money going? And just being conscientious of that so that I could just better plan and better save too.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point, because sometimes it is important to take the time to do that. Because I remember like, I don't know, it was a few months ago, I was like looking through my transactions. I was like, oh, I never canceled my like Canva Pro subscription and I've been paying like $10 a month. And I was like, well, there goes like $60 that I could have used towards, I don't know, Starbucks coffee or paying off the student loans.
Yeah. And that is something that is so common, I think, because being like when you are a college student, there are so many companies and services that offer like discounts or free trials for students. And it can be really easy to forget to cancel that. And then all of a sudden that student trial is over and then you're just paying for those. And if you're not checking your account, just like you said, like months could go by and, oh my gosh, I've been paying for this and haven't used it for like 7 months. I signed up for a lot of like free trials when I was in school.
I just signed up for one that I knew I was going to cancel and forgot to write down I needed to cancel it. And I think it was last week I looked at my account and I'm like, oh my gosh, why is there $120 extra missing? And now I'm just mad because they won't refund it and I'm not going to use it. But I paid for a whole year, so.
And there are services too that they'll offer you a discounted rate as long as you're a student, but then once you're no longer a student, it goes up to regular price. And so like that's something that I know Spotify does, and I still like I will never get rid of Spotify Premium. I will always pay for it because I use it too much and I value it. But yeah, I don't know if they still do it, but back when I was in college, they offered like a really cheap rate for students. Yeah. And then as soon as you graduate, then it goes up to regular price. So like just being aware of that too.
If you're in graduate school, you can get the discount again. So,
well, there you go.
Just throwing that out there.
So sign back up.
Yeah, I've switched a lot of things back to that student
I'm going to
discount.
go back to school just so I can get my Spotify discounted.
I think about that. Like, take one class at a time. Don't have to pay my student loans back. Get all the student discounts. Some of them do now. Like, they have a website or something where they verify your enrollment, and they won't like let you go more than like 4 or 5 years or something getting the discount. Yeah, so that is, they're getting smarter about that. But
Yeah.
I think my advice would be try to understand interest rates of what that really means financially for payments. Sometimes people just go into payments because they feel like they can afford it that for those months, and then you end up paying a lot of extra money, or you're not making enough money off of your money. Your money's not working for you.
mm-hmm.
How many times do you think I can say money in a row? That was a lot of monies.
Probably could do more, I think.
All right. Money donuts. Here we go. And bonus tip, start a podcast where you talk about finances with smart people and you learn stuff as you go.
Smart-ish people.
Yeah, smart-ish people.
I'll remember that one.
Yeah. Steve, that is a good one, though, because I think a lot of young adults can kind of get into that trap, especially with like the buy now, pay laters and stuff, right? It's so easy. But you need a car and you got your first job and you go to the dealership and you're like, yeah, okay, that sounds great. Well, they're never asking you, what do you want to pay for the car? They're asking, what do you want to pay every month, right? Going to your financial, getting pre-approved and figuring out like what actually makes sense for you can be a good rule of thumb to like pause and think about that, because, then you're going to be ahead instead of behind with something like a vehicle that doesn't retain value like they used to.
I feel like I should have a notebook here taking notes.
We're recording this so you can listen
Yeah,
back to
you
it.
can listen to it anytime you want. Yeah.
Steve, earlier you had asked, like, are there any like financial terms that are confusing? And not to like bring up something we've already talked about, but something that Haley has been doing for her social media videos, like the one of them is, what is APR? And so you were talking about like, know about your interest rate for loans and everything. So if you're listening to this and you have those questions, please go check out our social media where Haley does dive into what APR means, and then comment other terms that you want to know about. And she will put together some videos.
You should do one about equity, because I get a lot of questions about that from adults where they're like, what do you mean I have equity in my house? Or what do you mean in my vehicle? Or negative equity? What's that?
Yeah.
That's so those I think would be really good ones, because even everyone kind of needs to know that.
Yes.
Explain it right now. We're here. What is equity?
So equity is like the value you have in something versus what it is. It's the difference between like what it's worth and what you owe, essentially, is kind of the best way I can do it or say it. And it can be, you don't have to have a loan or something to have it. But so a vehicle, a lot of times we see negative equity with them, especially if we are, stretching out that term. And so you can buy a vehicle. The minute you buy the vehicle, it depreciates when you drive it off the lot, right? So immediately you've just lost. It used to be like 20%. I don't know what it is now of that value. So if you then are like, okay, I like it, blah, blah, blah. And in 6 months, you decide you want a different vehicle. Well, now you owe more on that vehicle than what it's worth, right? So if it's worth, $5,000 and you owe $10,000, you have $5,000 of negative equity. So you have to pay that to break even, right? Or you roll it into another loan and then you create negative equity there, okay? And that can work with like a house, same thing. The positive equity we see a lot with, like houses and those more investment type things that we can purchase. But a lot of times people like, you buy a fixer-upper. Okay, cool. Well, you pay, $20,000 for it. You put the money into it and, make the actual cost of it, $100,000 or whatever. Well, now you can sell it for $150,000. So now you have positive equity, right? Because you have more value in it than what you actually paid for. And that can, work for a lot of things. If you're trying to refinance things, you can, if your home has a lower interest rate, you could take out a HELOC and pay off high interest debt. You can, have more to pay down on a vehicle if you, took out a shorter term and were making payments that were going to pay that car off quicker versus focusing on the monthly payment. That's kind of like the quick explanation of it.
Does that mean like, what does that mean, I guess?
I have a practical use case
Yeah.
that I can share.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, my car was completely paid off. So I owned it in full. I had the title in my possession. My husband's car, we still had a loan on that, and it had a higher interest rate. And we're like, okay, I could get a better interest rate. And so what we did was, since I completely owned my car in full, what I did was I went to Royal and I was like, hey, I'd like to take out a loan against the car that I own. So I'm taking out an auto loan not to buy a car, but to access the cash value of what my car is worth to then use it to pay off my husband's car loan. And you can do that for anything. Like if I decided, hey, I really want to remodel my bathroom and I need some money. I own my car in full right now, like it's paid off and everything. So I could walk into Royal and be like, I want to take out a loan on my car and use those funds to then remodel my bathroom. And so basically just kind of in exchange for the ownership, Royal would then become the lien holder. But in exchange, I get that cash that my car is worth to then go and use for anything else. So it could be a remodel, it could be paying down debt, it could be paying other bills or other things like that. So,
and the important catch with that is, so now you're using your vehicle as collateral for, that loan. If you stop making payments on that loan, the agreement is Royal gets your car. Okay. So that is where that catch happens. But that was a super great use case. Another one could be, you might have a vehicle that you took out larger payments on because you wanted to pay it off in a shorter amount of time and life happened, right? And so now you have the ability, you could call Royal and say, hey, I'm in a pinch. Can I lower these payments? And could they refinance and stretch it out a little bit longer? Or, could you refinance and pay off some of that credit card debt that, is costing you a higher payment? And just add it into that vehicle loan. And now maybe you're paying that a little bit longer, but it's still putting you in a good spot. So it can be good to, be mindful of those things too, on top of an emergency fund, because it gives you more levers to pull when you need to do it.
Yeah. And those are the tips and tricks that you don't really learn until you're in that situation. So I think that can be super helpful for anybody in any age range to realize that you can really, just because it's called a vehicle loan, that doesn't only mean that you use it to buy a vehicle. You can get crafty and really come out on top, especially because not for all financials, but for a lot of them, the rates on vehicle loans are typically lower than what they are for just a standard personal loan that isn't tied to any collateral. So that is a really great financial hack that you can use if you do have a lot of equity in a vehicle.
Yeah. And then, if we get really technical with it, the reason for that is because you have the vehicle, you have the collateral, you have some extra risk protection there, right? So Royal doesn't have to worry as much if you stop making those payments. They have something that they can use to help get that money back to them, compared to one of those personal loans, which if you stop paying it, well, we're just kind of out. So it's a little bit higher risk for us to want to give you that. And that can be great for young adults too, because you might not have credit. You might not have that established history. So utilizing things like that to get that first loan, or even cash, you can take out a credit builder loan, a secured credit card, can be really helpful for your age group too.
Wow, that was a lot.
Yeah.
My last question for you today would be, what do older generations misunderstand about young adults now today?
I would say I feel like young adults are really trying to find that balance between not just saving everything or just spending everything. We are trying to find that balance where we are working for our money and we do want to have fun and do fun things. We don't just want to, what is it? Work to live? Live to work? Live to work. Yeah. Yeah, we do want to find that balance. So I think that's definitely something that can get a little misconstrued, is that, oh, well, the reason you don't have any money is because you're spending all of it. When the reality is, well, things are a lot more expensive than they were when older generations were growing up. And especially for us, when we're just entering the workforce and we're starting at that lower paying job that, it might not be as established as these older generations. So I think that's just something that can be a little difficult to navigate.
Just give us a break.
I know.
Anybody else? Any final thoughts?
I don't know. Just ask. Ask your friends that work at financials and reach out to your financial.
And if you don't have a friend at a financial, make one.
You always,
Cooper is everyone's
I know,
financial friend.
You have me and everyone on this podcast. You don't even have to be a member, though we would love you to be.
I have too many friends. I can't think anymore.
Yeah, Steve is not helpful, but the rest of us are. And now Haley knows so much stuff. So if you're young and go to Stout and know her, now she knows stuff.
Yes.
I'll try my best.
Cooper, you want to pitch Money Donuts to people?
Yeah, they should listen to it.
Money Donuts. And Alexis and I will sing. We'll do a jingle while you pitch it.
I have to remember the jingle.
Been practicing the jingle.
Mm-hmm.
If you liked this episode
If
and want to
you
learn
like this episode,
more, this is
more.
like the equivalent of counting the
I'm
wrong
like your
numbers.
hype person.
I know, but it's stressing me out.
Stressing me out.
Haley, that is your new assignment. Figure that out.
I'll get right on it.
Feels like her job, right? What we're trying to say is listen to Money Donuts and find us on all the platforms where podcasts are played. And we have social media. So like us on YouTube and Instagram.
And Facebook.
And you can send us questions and like all of our posts so more people see them.